All right, y'all, let's get this started. If my panelists wouldn't mind turning on their webcams, and let's get this party on the road. So my name is Stephanie. I'm the events manager here at Internet Creations. Thank you for being with us today. I asked y'all as you were tuning in, as you were signing in, to let us know where you are tuning in from. I'm in Central Jersey. It's a thing. I'm over here on the Jersey Shore right now, quarantined in my home, of course, like we all are. And Felisa, I will turn it over to you and we will get our webinar started.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. Well, thank you everybody for joining and welcome. My name is Felisa Palagi. I am the CEO at Internet Creations. Steph, before I go any further, can you tell us where some of the people are tuning in from today?
Yes, of course. So we have people tuning in from the West Coast in Santa Rosa, California, South Jersey, Exit 4, Dallas, Texas, Staten Island, and a lot of Jersey Shore. Yes, I love that. Okay, great. And Austin, Atlanta, Philadelphia. So thank you so much for being with us today. And maybe our panelists, as we introduce them, can let us know where they're calling from too.
Yeah, great diversity across our states. Thanks everybody for joining. So with COVID, as you know, everything suddenly has changed. Your company is rolling out business continuity plans in order to ensure financial stability, and you're dealing with all kinds of impacts from that and from the pandemic. You are trying to manage your utilization with a team that might be larger or smaller that you're used to. They're suddenly remote and they're stretched thin. You're trying to be responsive with your service volumes potentially having spiked, and that you're trying to make sure that you have great personalization during this time when customers are more sensitive. And through so many variables changing, you're trying to make sure that you can get feedback to make sure that your quality remains high. It's a big challenge right now. But there's also opportunity to lean into our strengths and instill confidence with our customers when they need it most. So today we've brought together service leaders to talk about how they're dealing with this pandemic, how they're dealing with the crisis, and to learn how to adapt and to support their customers right now. So just briefly about me, I joined Internet Creations 2.5 years ago. I started my career as a CSR. Between Internet Creations and CSRing, I spent about 20 years consulting to over 300 companies in terms of customer service, self-service, and field service. 7 of those years were as a thought leader for a company called Click Software. And for those of you using Salesforce, you might now recognize them as Salesforce's field service lightning solution. So let's move on to our panelists. Joining us are 4 esteemed service leaders. We have Anthony McCullough, Director of Global Salesforce CRM from AGCO Corporation. Anthony, how are you doing today?
Good. Hello, everybody.
Great. Saundra Viselli, VP of Customer Success from Ascent Cloud. Sandro, how are you? Sandra, you might still be on mute. I will move on to Andy Rattler, Director of Customer Care, Integrated DNA Technologies. Andy, how are you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Good. Happy to have you here. And Gadi, Director of Customer Support for OwnBackup. Gadi, how are you?
Hey, I'm excellent. Thanks for having me.
Great. Good to see you, my friend. All right, we're going to get right into the questions. First, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves a little bit further and talking about how this COVID period has impacted your industry specifically. Anthony, would you mind kicking us off?
Yeah, I've been at AGCO for 15 years. AGCO is the largest equipment manufacturer in the world focused solely on agriculture. So we've been using Salesforce since 2009, been working with Internet Creations since the end of 2010. So long history. And I'm responsible for Salesforce globally. CRM and marketing automation at AGCO. And agriculture, we've been identified as a critical industry in the U.S. Our factories are still running. Some of our other areas of the world, particularly Europe, more severely impacted for supply chain reasons, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have a factory in China as an example. That's when that's where this started. So that just to give you perspective, that factory went down in I think it was January, and then it was coming back online in early March. Okay, so they lost about 5 to 6 weeks. But that's at 100% capacity again, and that's what we see, with our other sites around the world. If to not be more impacted than that, so some of them won't stop at all, and then some, we're hoping to get back depending on the supply lines.
Great, thank you, Anthony. Sandro?
Good morning, hello, and thank you for having me. Hopefully I'm off mute now. My name is Saundra Viselli. Again, I'm the Vice President of Customer Success for Ascent Cloud. Ascent Cloud is actually a newly formed business brought out by an acquisition of 2 other companies, GeoPoint and Lovely 11, which are both App Exchange applications within Salesforce. I've been part of both companies for the last 3 years. I've been in the software business for, gosh, a little over 30 years. I love software. I think it's a great industry to have kind of grown up in over the years with all the changes. Prior to working with Ascent Cloud, I was working with a company called New World Systems, which is a public sector software company that went through a large acquisition by Tyler Technologies a few years ago. And part of that, I had stints at Icon Office Solutions, Microsoft, and a variety of other places prior to that. So Lovely 11 and GeoPoint, again, are companies that are App Exchange partners within Salesforce. Lovely 11 is about motivating behaviors that matter and driving productivity using scorecards, coaching, and some level of gamification, while GeoPoint is really about leveraging geolocation to drive efficiencies and productivity, like planning, scheduling, routing appointments, or planning territories, assigning territories, and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's what I do and what we do as a business. It's been an interesting past couple of months. The SaaS business is always interesting in general. It being a recurring revenue business, we're somewhat protected from little blips, but this has been a lot more than a little blip for us. Working with customers, it's really interesting just hearing how it's affecting customers around the world. I'm on the phone with people not just in the United States, but all over the world, in Asia, in Europe, and South America, and it's affecting everybody very differently. You're seeing some places come out of it now, particularly like in Germany, and some other places in really Asia are starting to come out of it in a little bit, but still they're reeling from all the changes. So we're leveraging, helping them with Salesforce. We're helping them with our products to try to get them to still be productive while they're now inside people. We work with a lot of sales and service team members who are out in the field. There's a majority of our customer base, and a lot of them now have reverted to either not working, being furloughed, laid off, or being converted into inside sales folks or inside people. So we're helping them a lot, actually. I think a lot of it is just working with the leadership to help them understand that they can convert a lot of what they're doing from being kind of on the road traveling road warrior types and still be as productive back in their office. And we're finding quite a bit of success helping them get along with that. Again, leveraging technology like WebEx, Zoom, and Salesforce, and some of our products. And we continue to do that. So that's where we're excited about that opportunity. And frankly, it helps bring a little bit of happiness to them to see that they have a way to be successful, because it's tough when they're every day facing difficult situations and decisions and with their own customers. So
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Andy.
Yeah, so my name's Andy Rattler. I'm the Director of Customer Care with Integrated DNA Technologies. We're a biotech company based in Coralville, Iowa, and we manufacture synthetic DNA for research purposes. And we're the largest manufacturer of this synthetic DNA product in the world. I've been with IDT for 19 years as the Director of Customer Care, and then we've been with Salesforce, using the Salesforce platform since 2014. The coronavirus pandemic has been an interesting time for my company. We were the first company in the country to have our products authorized for the CDC testing kit. So it's been a period of very, not only stress in the outside world for all of us, but a period of extremely high demand for our products. Our lab employees that work in the manufacturing plant are essential employees, so they come into work, but all of the office employees, such as my team, work from home. So we've had to get very creative with how we collaborate with the different teams, going through some very unprecedented customer requests, high intensity, high demand, as I mentioned. So we've had to get very, very creative with how we've been able to adapt to meet the high customer demand in a different setting, and leveraging technology and getting creative and making sure that we somehow stay in front of everything as best we can with this evolving situation, and trying to help get kits out as quickly as possible. It's definitely been an interesting challenge during this time. So those are some of the things that we're working through. We have regional sites in California, Belgium, and Singapore that we collaborate, and certainly the pandemic is impacting different areas differently. Some areas are in lockdown. We're based in Iowa. We're not in a shelter-in-place situation as of yet. So trying to kind of collaborate with the other regional sites has been kind of interesting as well.
All right, thank you, Andy, and thank you for everything that your company is doing around the testing.
Sure.
All right, Gadi, what challenges are you experiencing in your industry?
Yeah, so just allow me to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Gadi, and I'm responsible for customer support at OwnBackup. I've been with the company for 7 months now, and I've been building and leading customer support groups for 13 years, and moving them from small teams to larger, more process-oriented organizations that are really able to scale as these companies that I'm in grow, and that's always fun. First and foremost, I just wanted to thank Internet Creations for having us today. I think it's a great panel to be part of. So thank you for that. I feel that we're fortunate to even participate. It's not a given to be employed these days. So many people are affected by this industry-wide event that we all have family members or a close friend that isn't so lucky right now, and we're all going through all this, and they have added pressure in this new reality. So I'm just thankful for the perspective that we have. And a little bit about the company, OwnBackup. So we are an App Exchange ISV partner with Salesforce. We maintain business continuity with comprehensive Salesforce data protection. So we back up your Salesforce. We provide automatic and complete data protection, and the platform provides recovery solution that minimizes data loss, whether it's user inflicted or not, and business resiliency. So how it impacted us is an interesting question, and I thought about it for a bit. We're labeled technically in the tech industry, but as a cloud-to-cloud, backup and recovery, archiving, and sandbox seeding vendor, we really service everybody who's on Salesforce. So we're touching every industry that's using Salesforce. We're seeing a lot of customers making adjustments to their business continuity plan and recovery plans and disaster recovery plans. We find that more than ever, we can position OwnBackup as a key component that can augment or help be part of that continuity plan to secure their data in the cloud. And we're seeing different different pieces from different parts of the industries. It's amazing that, you know, some pieces are thriving right now while others are folding in. Some people are just doing fine. Companies are just doing fine, and other companies are heavily impacted. So it's we've seen the gamut of it right now, we believe.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Gadi. So I would like if some of you wouldn't mind sharing what are some of your specific company's greatest service difficulties and how you're handling it. Andy, would you mind kicking us off here?
Sure. Yeah, I think for us, again, with the pandemic and our company's how our company kind of fits into that with helping out with the testing kits, we've experienced extraordinarily high call volume, and it really started to take off right during the time when we were getting our staff up and running, working from home. You know, getting IT involved, making sure everything works and everything else. So we had to get very, very creative to pull that off and keep our service levels. We have a very collaborative team. They work very well together. So I think getting used to, as we all are, just the isolation of our current situation was definitely an adjustment too. So trying to balance all those different things and then handling high call volume with an evolving situation with different product demands and how they fit into this has been a challenge. But I think with, you know, with the technology solutions that we have, you know, we were able to monitor our call service levels and all of our service channels very tightly. And we've on the fly just kind of written up some new escalation paths for each of these new products, different requests, how to handle different customers. We essentially transformed our business temporarily, hopefully, overnight to primarily service this one product that everybody needs. So being able to kind of map out those escalation paths pretty quickly with a lot of transparency within the service team was crucial, and those are some of the things that we're sort of working through at this point.
How has your service team handled that? Have they handled that change pretty well?
Yeah, I think it's a group that adapts very well to change. Luckily,
Good.
you know, our product is custom, so it's not uncommon that we get some pretty strange requests. In this case, it's strange variations of the same request, and certainly a higher intensity and a higher urgency, obviously. So we've had to be very deliberate with how we keep people engaged and informed as things evolve, and that's been a huge focus for us.
Good, thank you. Sandro, how about your company? What are the greatest service difficulties for you?
I apologize, I keep doing that. I'm just doing what I was told. You told me to go on mute when we're not talking. So
I know we're not used to doing it. We're used to being in conference rooms and just talking, right?
Right. I follow directions. That's what I do. So
very good.
Yeah. So we have I look at it a couple of different ways. One, from an employee standpoint, we've had some challenges. Although I will say a lot of our employees are remote already, and we have offices around the country, so we're always talking through Zoom and so forth. But on just at a day-to-day basis, same with our customers. How do we keep people focused, motivated, and really in good spirits? How do we find ways to make sure that people are finding ways to stay positive throughout the day, that they can't do the things that they normally do? We're trying to do a lot more kind of virtual happy hours and things that we're doing as small teams to just keep people motivated. And then trying to find ways, leveraging, again, Salesforce and even some of our own products to manage productivity and efficiency, to make sure people are working on things that we want them to be working on, and that they're getting some success, right? Through shout outs, or anytime somebody has a great day or has an opportunity, we have a way to be able to let the whole company know something good happened. So we're trying to drive more positivity through the whole company. And then also there's an emotional side, is, how do we help employees kind of deal with the emotional side of dealing with tough customer situations? Again, a lot of companies going through tough times, and a lot of the people that we're used to talking to might be laid off or furloughed, and we don't have anybody to talk to, or we're getting a really tough story from them. So it takes an emotional toll on people who work and talk to customers every day. And you know, we're working with them to help them cope and get through that. So that's a big part of some of the challenges we have. As far as working with our customers, as I mentioned before, I think we're very lucky because we have the opportunity to help them understand the value of being able to work remotely and leverage tools within Salesforce and including Salesforce to be able to manage their teams better and provide more feedback to their teams and coach their teams better. This is a great opportunity for people to spend more time talking to their people on their teams. And in some cases where people are, again, staffs are getting smaller, more coaching has to go on in order to kind of get people to be more versatile, right? And we're trying to coach them, our customers, in ways to help them get there. So we're probably providing more consulting services, really, as part of our customer success function than we are kind of product stuff. We're trying to get customers to see different ways that they could be leveraging technology to help them motivate their teams and keep their teams focused by some best practices. We get working with a lot of companies around the world doing that. So I think that's an interesting way for us to kind of leverage the services that we provide. A lot of this too is managers. You know, managers are really struggling with where they used to have activity reports, people traveling, people going to places. Now they have no idea. Are their people being productive? Do they know what to do? Do they know how to do that? And we're trying to coach them to look at ways that they can keep track of those things and to, again, better coach their people and maintain productivity highs. So at the end, probably the last thing I just want to mention on that point is that, you know, we're constantly looking for what happens like when this is over, or is this we start coming out of this? People need to start ramping up. We don't want them to have to relearn all the different ways of doing things, right? We want to try to keep it as consistent as possible for them going through a transition. So we're spending a lot of time working with our customers and even our own people and coming up with ways to just be consistent as part of a ramp up for customers when they start to get back online and things start to get back to normal.
That's great, Sandro. Can I put you on the spot and ask you for a tip to coach us in how to manage our remote teams?
Yeah, I think what's really important in managing remote teams is making sure that, you know, they know at least 3 or 4 key behaviors or key things that you want them to do every day, and have a way to quickly be able to report to their management team, are they doing those things consistently throughout the day? So whether that's, if you were an outside salesperson, let's say, and you know, you're used to making 5 visits a week, you know, let's make sure that you go ahead and schedule those 5 calls a week or 10 calls a week now that you're remote, and make sure that they're doing those, and then coach them. How do you deal with a phone call conversation differently than you would of a site visit type of conversation? There might be a little bit, you know, different things you might talk about. So it's really just making sure that they're being productive and having a way to measure that quickly, leveraging the system and keep them motivated.
Very nice, thank you. It looks like we have a couple of questions that came in. Thank you, Steph, for pulling these. Would you say your companies were prepared for the pandemic? And if you could give yourself a tip 6 months ago to prepare for this, what would it be? Does anybody want to jump in?
I don't think anybody was prepared for the pandemic. Again, I think we were lucky that we are mostly remote already, and a lot of our business is done remotely. So I'm not sure I have a good answer for that one. In terms of preparation for it from our standpoint. And if I had to do anything differently, going back and preparing for this, I probably would have had more ways of making sure people stayed motivated, right? And find ways to, you know, how do I make sure that people are motivated in good spirits all day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for us, just the transition to, you know, specifically for my team and other service teams working remotely, that's not something that we had done. So I think, you know, I wish that we would have been set up to do that previously, so we could just throw a switch and do it. It was a time of high stress for everybody anyway, and we got through it okay. But that certainly would have been smoother if we could have just cleared out the building and said, everybody go home, plug in, and let's go. and that just wasn't the case for us. It took us a few days to sort it out, and it was just something extra we had to fight through.
Yeah. I know for us, we had a bit of a plan, and our business is relatively diversified with apps and with implementation services. I don't know that we accounted for something like a global pandemic and to that extreme. So that was something we definitely had to pivot on pretty quickly, to think about those extreme situations and how to be able to handle them. All right, so we can move on a little here. As far as Salesforce goes, are you using it differently during this time? Gadi, how is your company using Salesforce during this time?
So we're using it differently in the sense of, and I'll speak from a service perspective because that's what I'm in charge of. But I think the challenge is to keep a view of the staff activities. I think, like Sandro mentioned, and metrics that you can keep an eye on and make sure that the employees are also engaged on that, and ensuring the staff activities will ensure that customers are getting the best service that we can provide, and we can hit those SLA metrics that we're obligated to and that we want to overachieve on. For that, we've customized some of our dashboards and reports to allow better visibility. Our executive management is really tuned into this, and they're having daily calls where we are reporting not only data, but color on the data. Because data is one thing, but you really want to analyze it. And we're finding ourselves even more than before, and that's a tip that I want to kind of retain out of this. We kind of, before this pandemic where everyone was working in the office, you had a notion of what you're looking at and the metrics that you're looking at, and now you're getting a little bit more color on them just because you're overanalyzing them or analyzing them so much because that's really all you have at certain points. So we think it's equally important to discuss them and analyze them on a short cycle like that. I think we're stressing the importance of minding the administrative tasks in Salesforce. The internal case updates through chatter. Sometimes those things were solved via a hallway conversation or some kind of lunch, interaction. Now they can be lost in tools like Slack or something like that, where there's so much chatter going on. So we're really minding our administration. Just probably a small plug for Internet Creations. Your tools are really allowing us to do a lot of things much more efficiently and quickly. Recently, kind of leaning into this pandemic, we purchased Case Merge, which has transformed the way we treat case duplicates and everything that has to do around that. And that's an administration thing. I can't imagine what would happen now with the amount of cases that we're getting if we didn't have that tool for us. So it's things like that. We're thinking of little pieces of technology of what we can do in Salesforce and little process tweaks. We're also supplementing Salesforce. So there are things that are not in the box, and we got to go get something else. We're using a company that's called Gecko Board for live dashboarding that I've given IP restrictions to my house, and per IP of each support person, so they can view the dashboards that they usually saw in the office. Now they can view it at home and kind of keep a visual on the queue or pending cases for action or anything like that. We're tracking activities like onboarding and training sessions through this tool, and how each person is doing on a department level. So what else are we doing in Salesforce that's different? We've upped the frequency of the scheduled dashboards and reports with actionable metrics, case aging, first response and case resolution. And then we inspect that on a daily basis. We used to do that on a weekly basis. We kind of want to look at cases and ask ourselves, so we're in a different situation. There's a new reality right now. What happened last Q according to this day on an average? Do we have more? Just yesterday, I reported to my manager that I am seeing that there's a shift in reported case time, where we usually had peaks around 10 a.m., let's say, for US time, and then another one around the lunches. Now these cases are coming in at different times, and I suspect this has to do with people adjusting to working from home, maybe having their kids around and changing their schedule a bit, having more flexibility to do things at a later time during the day. And Salesforce is a SaaS company, so you can access it pretty much anytime. We're looking at our cases and trying to understand trends in what are people reporting about, which is a direct, since we back up Salesforce and recovered to Salesforce, we're noticing that people are shifting to work from home. So we will see more cases around our product on how to implement single sign-on or IP restrictions or multi-factor authentication. And then the same thing that happened in Salesforce, other companies are making the same adjustments that we are. They're changing who can touch what from remote, which ensues, changes in Salesforce that we allow them to recover from if any mistakes were made. Companies are implementing single sign-on in Salesforce where they haven't done that before. Maybe they had IP restrictions for working from the office, and now you have to open it up as people are working from remote. There's more fingers in the pot right now because people have to access things from remote. So there are trends, and we're trying to analyze how to react to them better by creating different slices into our analytics. We're big into that. And then we put some triggers and automations for awareness on sensitive words and subjects and descriptions. So when cases do come in, and even if they weren't classified correctly by the customer, if there is something that we're catching there, we're gonna bubble that up in a way that's gonna make our team react faster to it. And in another Internet Creations shameless plug, we are looking into case flags because we think that will help us visualize upcoming SLA breaches, where we want to prioritize that. We have a system, it works, but maybe case flags can improve it. So that will
absolutely help you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Gadi. And I promised everybody I did not pay him to plug the products. We're big believers, and we love hearing when customers are happy with them. You mentioned watching the trends. How are you balancing this tipping point when we got far into the pandemic and data may have changed from what you've seen from history? How are you balancing that?
So I guess we're balancing it by just keeping a beat on it. There's no other way just except doing it. And then analyzing again and taking the time to review it and have a second set of eyes, or maybe people with experience that know what have we done in the past in situations like these. I don't have amazing advice except just stay the course.
It's hard. It's not a lot of data in the news space during the pandemic, so I know it's a big challenge. Thank you, Gadi. Anthony, I know AGCO is doing quite a bit around Salesforce. So what about you? What are you doing differently during this time?
Yeah, so I lead our Center of Excellence globally. So we have a annual roadmap that was finalized, prioritized in January, and mid-March it got turned upside down. And really, we kind of did a reset on where do we need to prioritize our time, what do we need to pull forward, and there's two key areas that we focused on, or that we are focusing on. One of which is marketing automation. So campaign and lead management in Sales Cloud, and then we also have Marketing Cloud. And we've implemented Marketing Cloud in Europe, Middle East region, as well as North America region, but we wanted to pull forward our South America region and Asia Pacific Africa regions, as well as other divisions within AGCO that weren't on Marketing Cloud at all yet, and not even using campaigns or leads, because I think the way we look at it, this is actually changing our industry, and which is a very relationship focused agriculture equipment. Calling on dealers, calling on farmers, very in person, and this is there's going to be a new normal after this, and this whole agriculture is high tech. A lot of people don't realize that, but it is. But now I think it's actually going to change it even further on how we capturing our leads, how we running our campaigns, and we're already headed down that road, but now we the gas pedal down and trying to get that essentially in 2 weeks we're going to have it rolled out globally, which we pulled forward quite a bit. The second item was case management. So we have over 3,000 users on Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. But there's still some pockets of users that aren't on Salesforce that are customer or dealer facing. So we want to get them on to the platform as soon as we can. It was always been in our plans, but not the highest priority with some groups that different acquisitions we've made over the years. So we want to onboard them onto Service Cloud, number one. Number two, we actually had an item in our project on our roadmap for virtual assistants, and we've actually accelerated that. We're doing proof of concept. So how it works is, if I'm on a case in Salesforce, I can send a text message to a customer, and could be a dealer or an end customer, and they can like FaceTiming with our technical service groups, but we see what they see, and we can with augmented technology circle things, and they can see that, and they can do similar things, and our service technical service are using that right inside Salesforce, and our customers have this other solution. So we're still looking at a few different ones, but we went ahead and pushed forward on a pilot with one. That's been very positive, and to be able to provide that remote assistance. And that's one thing that, question you asked earlier, what would you have done if you do differently? If you knew this 6 months ago, we would have implemented that solution before this happened, and then had everybody trained up, because luckily it was on our roadmap. We'd already, had some investigation, but didn't realize how critical it would be, when a technician's working on a piece of equipment, and to be able to visualize that and see that, to provide remote assistance is invaluable. It's even more important today than it was, 2 months ago. So those are our biggest focus areas right now, and making sure that we can. The demand on Salesforce at our company is skyrocketed. I mean, it's always been high, but it's even more so. So we got to prioritize effectively. Our team is working on the right things, right? And I mean, it's mentioned before, but there's so many different distractions in the world today, and different priorities from different stakeholders. So we got to make sure we have a very clear prioritized list that our team's working on to deliver the highest business value.
Excellent. And I love that you're using AR technology to be able to help with those remote situations. All right. I know we just have a few minutes left and questions are coming in. Stephanie, can you help me prioritize those? Do you see one or two key questions that we can jump in and handle right now?
Yeah, so one of the questions that actually just came in, it's very actually kind of a follow-up to what Anthony is saying and what all the panelists have been saying today, but anyone can take it. How do you envision, with the given some of the business changes that you've had to implement, how do you envision those changes continuing or not continuing come, after we get through this pandemic? Do you imagine that some of the changes that you've had to make will become permanent?
I'll start definitely, because I think how customers, regardless of industry, at some point they're doing different things today, and some of those things, they will realize is more efficient for them or better for them, in how that works, and we have to be able to adapt to that faster. So I think a lot of things that we are implementing, we're trying not to spend time on things that were our short-term, 30-day focus. We're trying to pull forward things that will have long-term value, but are really critical right now.
I would say, I think that was a great point. And I think that not so much for us, because again, being a SaaS business, we do things remotely all the time. But I think for a lot of our customers who have a lot of traveling folks, I think quite a few of them are looking at, do they really need so many people on the road doing the visits that they do today, or can they do a lot of that and convert that to doing it more remotely? I think that is going to be a big shift of a lot of these companies that have, whether they be salespeople or service people that are doing visits to customers out in the field, may not be as regular as it is today. So I think the travel is going to probably be cut down quite a bit, and people are going to look for ways to do a lot of their jobs remotely, whether that's at your home or in an office, but definitely not as much visiting customers as we used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're in that situation as well, because we, obviously as I mentioned, we have a lot of business coming in from the test kits, but it's also a weird combination because our standard customers are just ongoing disease researchers, and there's very little of that going on now. Universities are closed, and a lot of people are staying at home. So the bread and butter of our business isn't there right now, and it's going to be harder to predict in terms of when it comes back. And obviously our top priority is going to be COVID-19 related until, whenever we're out of this. So I think for us, just being able to stay organized and stay tactical about service levels and escalation processes and things like that. And Gadi, you mentioned that you were considering case flags. I'll put in a plug for case flags. It's really been great for us, and really a game changer in terms of attacking service levels in a tactical way that we didn't prior to case flags. So I definitely give that one a thumbs up.
Thank you. All right, everybody, it looks like we are at time. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Your insights were incredible. Stephanie has some resources that we've pulled together for everybody. We're going to go ahead and put those in the chat feed, and then they'll be with the recording as the follow-up in order to help further with this pandemic. And just once again, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you everybody for attending. Please follow each of our panelists. They provide incredible information there in social. And we look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.